Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, joined in studio today by our producer, Jonathan Voico.
Hello, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer-Burnett.
John, the 50th anniversary of Jaws is in 2 days.
I know, it's crazy, right? And there's like a documentary coming out about it,
man.
and the whole thing.
The brand new Steelbook, the 4K Steelbook with the documentary on it, came out this week.
The first blockbuster. I mean,
blockbuster.
It's such an important film in history. Anyway, sorry guys, but most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and deciding to make our show a part of your valuable day. And here's how this show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics that we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, that's when we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And the good news about this tip link is that it's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to this show a little bit later on podcasts, say either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a question. And if you send one in when we're not live, as long as we deem it appropriate to be used on the show, we'll just address it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things started off with this. You know, the newest Pixar film is about to come out with Elio. I am a big Pixar fan, but this is one of those rare Pixar films that, to me, has frankly not looked very good. Now, according to the critic reviews that are now out, people are liking it. It's got an 84%. Which is good, solid. I'm just saying, to me, the trailers haven't done a lot to move the needle or to get me excited about it. I am going to go see it right after we're done the show today. I'm gonna head over to the local AMC. Gonna go see it today, and I'll do my out of theater review a little bit later today. But it's not tracking well. Not tracking well. Now, according to this article in Deadline, it said Elio's booked at all these screens, but the bottom line here is the key part. And you could drop my image out of this, but the movie cost $150 million. Now, that's before the marketing and everything. The estimates on the marketing I have heard are around $100 million. Even though the trailers I don't think have been very good, they have definitely spent money on getting it. It's been in billboards. They've done lots of TV spots and commercials and all that. You can bring me back up now, John.
All right.
TVs and commercial spots and stuff like that. They've definitely spent a lot of money on it. $100 million worth they've spent. That means at about, you add 150 million for the production, about 100 million in marketing. You multiply that by 1.5. You're talking about a movie that needs to make close to 400 million just to crack even. And it doesn't sound like it's going to do that. Variety's reporting on this weekend's box office. They're saying How to Train Your Dragon is going to come in at number 1 again. But they're saying this. Second place will be a close race as Elio aims for 25 to 30 million in its first weekend. And 28 years later, which I'm excited about seeing tomorrow, targets 28 to 30 million in its debut. Box office tracking isn't an exact science, though some forecasts are suggesting that Elio will come in under $25 million. While 28 years later could surpass $35 million over the weekend. All right, so we're going to focus our attention here on Elio. Listen, Pixar doesn't have the bulletproof, impeccable reputation that it used to have. But they are coming off some pretty good wins. And their product level has been pretty high lately. I'm still floored by Elemental. I just loved Elemental so much. But again, to me, it's just the marketing has not looked interesting. I love that they're doing an original, right? In the last bunch of years, going back to the pandemic, I mean, they've done a Pixar who's often been accused of doing nothing but sequels. But just since like 2019, 2020, they have done Turning Red, which I think is one of their best films. They did Soul, which was wonderful. They did Luca, that a lot of people love. They've got now this, Elio, coming out. So I love that they're taking another crack at an original. And hopefully, as the critic rating is kind of suggesting, hopefully it's as good as they're saying it is. I'm hoping this is going to be another situation for me that was like Coco, that I didn't think Coco looked very good, and I walked out bawling and loving the movie and all that. I hope that happens with Elio. But to me, Rob, this opening weekend projection is just kind of reflective of the fact that I don't think they did a great job on their marketing. They did a lot of marketing. I just didn't think they did an effective job about it. Anyway, what do you think about these forecasts, higher or lower than what you were thinking? And if it does come in this low, what's the culprit?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the movie was shown to critics, people in our space, and it has not been getting the greatest reactions. I'll tell you something. So the fact
that it's gotten 84%.
I know. I have to say that when we saw footage at CinemaCon, I wasn't excited about it. And I'm like, this should be right up my alley. A kid, aliens. What is it about this that doesn't excite me? Because, dude, like you, I'm a huge Pixar fan, not just Toy Story. Like, I loved A Bug's Life, for
Going
instance.
all the way back.
I mean, but that's the thing. It was like after Toy Story, which made such a splash, when Bug's Life came out, I'm like, I love this movie. I mean, it's great. People forget, it's like Bug's Life is like the forgotten Pixar film, but it's a banger. And you go back and you all the way up to things like Coco. But I'll tell you what about this movie, because I was thinking about this. I'm like, what is it about this movie that didn't appeal to me? And you know what it was? It's the design. I don't like the character designs. I don't like the main kid. I think all these creatures look like they are taken from other movies. Whereas, you look like, you watch Coco, and Coco is so of a piece. The design of it all, everything works together. But when I'm looking at this looks like some psychedelic Monsters, Inc. thing. Like these aliens it's like they came from, when you got those little things when you were a kid, you got them out of gumball machines, like they were rubber monsters and you put them on your fingertips. That's kind of what these look like, and maybe that's what they're going for.
They did the same thing in Quantumania. It was like, why would these things be in quantum?
I don't. It's like the design. It's like this design aesthetic is not. It's not of a piece. No. I don't buy into this, and I think that it's. And look, I'm a child. There's a book called by a guy named an artist named Wayne Barlow, and he wrote a book, his Guide to Extraterrestrials, where he painted images of all these aliens that like appeared in books, like in Childhood's End, and all the designs were really cool. But these designs, I look at them and I'm like, I don't believe them. I just don't, and nothing about this appealed to me. And we were sitting at CinemaCon and I'm like, why don't I like this? And I started thinking about it this week because I'm like, am I going to go see this? I'll probably go see it because it's Pixar. But I don't like the way it looks.
Well, I agree. I don't like the way it looks either. But I would get over that if I found the trailers charming.
Right.
Now, I will say, the one funny line that I found out of all of the trailers was when Elio's in the desert and the other kids find him and like, what are you doing out here all alone? He goes, I'm trying to get abducted. No, I mean by aliens. Like that was funny. I mean, I that's funny. But it's the only one. All the other like little gags with the other little alien, like what is it? I'm not a hostage. What he says, I'm a bargaining chip or something like that wasn't funny. It wasn't delivered well.
Here's the way it delivered. And then it was just like, this place is beautiful. It's like, this is our bathroom. It's like, well, why would you be in the bathroom like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like,
again, just wasn't funny. Didn't hit, didn't click. And the thing about the beauty about Pixar, now some people will then want to come back and say, well, John, this is for kids. But that's not Pixar's DNA. Pixar has never made kids movies. They've made kid-friendly movies.
Right.
That's what they do. Like you watch The Incredibles, 60% of that movie goes right over kids' heads.
Of course.
They're not going to relate with a 50-year-old dad who's reminiscing about his glory days. They're not going to relate with, and it just seems to miss any of that great chemistry, that endearing. It just doesn't have that endearing quality. At least they haven't shown it off in the marketing. And if I watch this movie and I end up really liking it, this movie will become one of Pixar's biggest marketing failures. If the movie's not so good, then I'll go, well, what could the marketing have done? But if this movie's good, it'll be one of Pixar's biggest marketing blunders.
But I've always thought, I'm perplexed by this movie because, I remember seeing the face of the old man from Up. I was immediately attracted. That face, the way it was designed, put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
When I started seeing the design work for Soul, I'm like, I knew it had a jazz component to it. I love the look of it. I mean, I've always loved the design of Pixar's work, their animation. Like Mr. Incredible and Frozone, the two of them together on screen. It puts a smile on your face. This didn't. And I don't know why. And like you said, all of the great children's entertainment that I grew up with, was not necessarily directed toward kids. And I think that's been a real problem, is that kid entertainment used to be, it had a level of sophistication to it. I mean, even if you go back and you watch the Disney live action Kurt Russell movies when he was a kid, the Dexter Riley movies, like The Strongest Man in the World, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, those movies were kidified, but the humor was sophisticated. And like, remember, the Herbie the Love Bug movies starred like Dean Jones and Suzanne Plachette, whatever. I mean, or That Darn Cat was a kid's movie, but not really. And I don't know. Maybe this movie will be good, and I'll be surprised.
Again, it's like I said, it's got an 84%. I hope I like it. I'm stoked that How to Train Your Dragon looks like it might still take first place. They're
How
aiming
cool will that be?
I mean, again, guys, if you haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon, you're just robbing yourself. It's a
well-deserved,
well-made movie. Go see it, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Elio, which costs like $150 million to make, another $100 million to market. This thing needs to get between $375 and $400 million just to break even. And opening it up at say 25 or 30 million, that ain't going to cut it. If it does come in that low, why do you think it is? I mean, I don't think it's that people don't trust Pixar anymore. You saw the pop when they announced Incredibles 3 was coming. Boom, roof got blown off. So what is the cause of it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? We talked last week about, or maybe a couple weeks ago now, that Warner Brothers is officially basically splitting itself into two different companies. The one company is going to be taking things like their television assets, things like TNT, CNN, a lot of the other, we did the big laundry list of all the networks and all that kind of stuff that will be going with them. And they'll be taking along with them most of the overall Warner Brothers debt will be going along with them. On the other side, you're going to have the side that David Zaslav will continue to run, which is going to be the studios and HBO Max. And one or two other things as well, but basically that's the studio stuff and then basically the network stuff being split into two different companies. There is a theory out there, Rob, that while most people agree this second company with all the networks, they're going to be looking for somebody to buy it once they've split it off. But there's also a prevailing theory out there that some people believe they're even going to be trying to sell the Warner Brothers studio side. A theory which I do not subscribe to. I think they're doing all this to put the studio side in a much healthier place. But there are those out there who believe they're going to try to sell it as well and to make it more attractive by dumping all the out-of-date network stuff out and just have the actual valuable prime stuff. Warner Brothers Studios, HBO Max. There's a new rumor floating around out there, and I stress the word rumor, okay? But hot on the heels of that theory, the predominant theory out there that Warner Brothers is going to look to sell, there's a rumor floating around like this one saying Sony rumored to be considering Warner Brothers Discovery streaming and studios acquisition. And I thought, well, I don't believe this is real. That's why everybody's emphasizing rumors. I thought it would be interesting for a second for us to talk about what would be the pros and cons of Sony buying Warner Brothers, but then also as an opportunity to talk about, let's say theoretically Warner Brothers and HBO Max was going to be for sale. Who might be the most logical suitors? So let's start with Sony. The most obvious advantage with Sony is that they don't currently have a streaming entity. Sony announced at CinemaCon a few years ago, we're a theatrical movie company. We're about movie theaters. We're about making content and putting in movie theaters and then selling off our content to the highest bidder in the streaming market aftermarket, right? They were like, we don't want to be in the arms race. We want to be the arms dealer. We want to make the product that everybody's fighting for, right? But that has left them in a place where they're the only one who doesn't have a streaming network. Could you imagine being Sony saying, well, we don't want to build a streaming network. How would you like to have HBO? That's got to be an attractive carrot, man. That has got to be an attractive carrot. That's like dangling pictures of boobs in front of the chubby high school virgin kid. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's got to be very attractive. Very attractive. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Rob got a flashback.
Flashback. But I mean, it's got to be an intense thing. And listen, with all the talks of, oh, Sony's financial, the reality is they have a lot of money in the bank. And the other reality is, mostly due in part to the AT&T driving it to death's door, the market value of Warner Brothers, it could be bought at a fairly bargain price, still in the billions and billions, but a fairly bargain price nonetheless. Sony also presents a fascinating possibility, Rob. What's the one comic book character Sony has the rights to?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? I'm just throwing this out there. Can you imagine a world
Yes.
where so... Yes.
Well, then you could do the old comic book Spider-Man.
Let me air the thought, though.
Go.
Can you imagine a world where Sony buys Warner Brothers and they now own DC, because that would be part of the package. They now own DC outright. It's not just the rights to it. They own DC. And then going, you know, we never did very well trying to make that Sinister Six thing. What about Spider-Man meeting a new rich benefactor? I don't know, maybe a Bruce Wayne. And what if we have a Spider-Man Batman thing? Now, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't know this for fact. I'm going to go out on a limb that the contract that Sony has with Marvel, with them having the rights, probably precludes Sony from crossing Spider-Man over with other comic book universes. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm going to go out on a limb and bet Marvel's lawyers will probably have the foresight to put something like that in. But that aside, that would present a very, very, very interesting proposition that he could come along and do that. Anyway, let's stick on Sony for a second, because that's the company being ruined. And by the way, the other thing that Warner Brothers Discovery is keeping are the video game assets.
Yeah.
And for Sony,
Huge,
right?
Yeah.
With PlayStation, like Sony then acquiring more video game properties in another studio, that could be attractive as well.
That means
Anyway,
like the Arkham, this game
Yes!
could just be PS5 for a while.
oh my God, can you imagine how much Sony and the PlayStation executives would be drooling over the idea of being able to launch, you know, their own branded Arkham titles?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Rob, sticking on Sony for a second, what would you see as the pros or cons for something like Sony maybe acquiring a Warner Brothers?
Well, it's funny, you know, Sony, before it was Sony, was Columbia, and Columbia was on the same lot as Warner Brothers when they called it the Burbank Studios, and then they moved. But in terms of, look, do I want to see studios combining? I don't. I mean, I think I know it's a function of the modern age, but I think one of the real problems with all of these larger companies acquiring the movie studios is that they really don't understand the movie business. They think they do. And they come in, they get involved in it. They think they're going to be able to leverage their debt the same way they could with other things. But I would really love to see like what the filmmakers did who got together and bought the Village Theater in Westwood. I would love to see some consortium of people that wanted to focus on making movies buy these studios, because, you know, Warner Brothers still has a very functional back lot, and their sound stages are some of the best in
They're
in
world
Hollywood.
class.
World class. I know, and there's a lot of companies now building sound stages in LA that seems counterproductive, but the conventional wisdom is they're buying them so eventually they can rezone them for residential.
For commercial,
and then,
residential.
Yeah, for commercial, and do something, which is whatever. But I mean, I think that Sony buying Warner Brothers, I could see that happening. I just don't want to lose another studio. I don't like these mergers happening. Although, you know, under Disney, 20th Century is just starting to do some its own. The trailer for the Bruce Springsteen film dropped today.
Yes.
And that was a 20th Century Studios movie.
And is Badlands not also 20th century?
Yeah, that's and that Killer of Killers is 20th
Yep.
century. And Steve Asbell, the president of 20th century, started, and they're making some original films now. But I think it's important that we need different studios to make these things. But I think all the things that you pointed out makes Warner Brothers a tasty target for Sony. But I mean, what would that mean? Would that mean that the Warner lot would get sold off and they would move all over? They'd move over to Culver City. I mean, what would they?
I know. I bet Sony would want to keep that lot.
I would hope so.
They would. I mean, if you buy Warner Brothers, one of the juiciest pieces of the steak.
But
there.
if no one's shooting here, we've got to bring the business back to Los Angeles. I mean, we killed it over the course of decades, but I mean, I do think that it's important. But I wish Warner Brothers could. I don't know. These companies that want to, it's all Gordon Gekko.
And again, and for the record, I don't think Warner Brothers is going to sell. The main reason I don't think they're going to sell is because you and I have been in the room with David Zaslav. That dude is a passionate movie fan.
Yes.
Like you can think what you want about ability. What you can't question is this guy has dreamed of, you know what he is? You know who he is? He's Seth Rogen in the studio.
Yeah.
Maybe as talented, maybe not as talented, but that's who he is. He has grown up a passionate movie fan.
But he makes less mistakes than Seth Rogen does.
Yeah, maybe. But and he gets to be in the movie business.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think they're going to look to sell. But it is possible. Okay, let's look at let's say it's not Sony. And let's say they are, again, I don't think they're going to sell, but let's say they are. There's a couple of other key players here that you could then look at. One of them that I think would be very serious is NBC Universal Comcast, right? Because Comcast always seems to be looking to expand, and they always have it's seemingly limitless amounts of money as a studio. NBC Universal Comcast, they currently do not have a foothold at all in the superhero world. And so that would be an interesting thing for them to add as another dimension to get into that. Another, and I'm going to run through these quick, then I want your thoughts on who's the most likely. Another big one would be Apple. I've said this before. Apple continues to double down on being serious about developing their studio and developing all this stuff. They, of course, got F1 coming out, which everybody's really excited. Could finally be their first bona fide hit.
And who's releasing it?
Who is the distributor?
Warner Brothers.
Oh, Warner Brothers is their distributor. That's right. So it's an Apple production. They have more than enough money to buy Warner Brothers 100 times over. So they could buy it and not even notice it in their bank account that they bought something like that. And it would give them a whole new studio infrastructure. It would get them a lot of studio talent. It would just completely open up a lot of avenues for them. So that's why I think Apple would be an interesting suitor as well. But of course, the juiciest morsel on the plate would be Disney. Why? Kind of the same thing as this Sony thing. Can you imagine one company owning Marvel and DC?
Welcome back, James.
You want welcome back. That's what the whole deal would be called, the welcome back James deal.
Yeah.
It would suddenly make the one thing I've always said never going to happen. Justice League versus Avengers. That movie ain't ever going to happen. Disney buys Warner Brothers. Oh, that movie's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That movie will definitely happen. Now, of course, there'd be a lot of other hurdles. I think a Disney purchasing Warner Brothers and like Marvel and DC being owned by the same company is something that would have a lot of government eyebrow raising for, for consumer protection and all that kind of stuff. But setting all that aside for a minute, I don't like the idea of Disney buying Warner Brothers. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think Disney right now is particularly in a big acquisition place at the moment. I don't think they can just throw around a lot of money like that at the moment. But you'd be naive to not admit that that's the juiciest possibility. Sure. People would love that possibility. Out of all of them, to me, I do think Sony makes the most sense. Again, NBC, Universal, Comcast, if they want it, they'll put up the money. If Apple wants it, they'll more than be able to put up the money more than anybody else. But all things considered, I think Sony kind of makes the most sense. Out of all the other potential suitors, who do you think makes the most sense?
Amazon.
That's a good one. That's when I left off. You're right.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Because Amazon MGM You know, after seeing the Amazon presentation and knowing that Sue Kroll from marketing and Courtney Valenti, you know, she was at Warner Brothers for decades. So was Sue Kroll. Have them come back home. That lot, already Warner Brothers distributes half of MGM's classic catalog anyway. So it's, as a matter of fact, I mean, I just watched the new 4K of High Society that they at Warner Archive put out this week. And, you know, they would have a studio lot. They would have the history. And even though Sony really controls the old MGM lot, for MGM to come over to the Warner lot, there's plenty of room. And it's a place, I mean, Amazon planted their flag and said, we are committed to theatrical. They have a banger slate for 2026. And they've got franchises like the James Bond franchise, which, by the way, Warner Brothers is now releasing. You know, they put out the Connery box set. So I could see Amazon. It seemed to me from their presentation at CinemaCon that I thought was the most impressive, that they have the most interest in really diving into the film business. Because, you know, they had their Amazon studios that put out things like Manchester by the Sea. And I liked that logo. And I thought Amazon was doing some really interesting stuff, but they didn't. You know, it was like niche titles. They had some great taste, but I think the slate they have for 2026, and it's not just because I want to see Project Hail Mary, but the Don Winslow adaptation, Crime 101 with Chris Hemsworth.
Listen, the Amazon presentation
Unbelievable.
Was one of the absolute best at CinemaCon. I was thoroughly impressed.
Masters of the Universe, you know, that they've got that coming out. So they've been picking up other tentpole properties, and I think they're really committed.
But they're not putting Voltron in theaters.
Yeah, they're not yet.
I still don't understand that, but anyway.
But I mean, I think that that would be, because, you know, MGM, they've got their library, but essentially, and they've got the name, but essentially they're a new studio. You know, the Amazon iteration of MGM is new. It's brand new. They've got a lot to offer. They're kind of homeless right now. And the problem with Disney, you still then have to deal with Disney as a company. And there's certain subject matters they're going to shy away from. Amazon will make anything.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about these stories? Now, again, for the record, let me be clear. I do not believe that Warner Brothers, the studio side, is going to be looking to sell. These are just rumors. None of the major trades are covering this, but it's floating around a lot online. But theoretically speaking, for the fun of the discussion, were Warner Brothers on the studio side and HBO Max and their games be up for auction, who could you see as the best potential suitor? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on and talk about this, shall we? Dude, it is crazy. We are like 20 days away from Superman. If you count the advanced July 8th thing, we're about 20 days away from Superman. Crazy. Now, of course, one of the big new crazes in all of movies that's been very lucrative, and the fans like it, are the special popcorn buckets. No movie has had more than Superman. And I thought it would be fun, piggybacking off of an article in the good folks over at Superhero Hype, to look at the four of the major theater chains, AMC, Cinemark, Regal, and Alamo Drafthouse, and look at the unique specialized Superman popcorn buckets they're going to have for each of them, and then rank them about what we think is the best and which we think is not. Sound good? All right.
Good to me.
Let's start by just going over all the offerings, shall we? Let's start with AMC.
What are you going to show?
Man, I got to tell you, I like this. I like this a lot. This is the same one that Cineplex is going to be releasing in Canada, the newspaper box, the old school newspaper box. And when the door is closed on it, it's got like crypto, but on the Canadian one, it's got Superman on the cover of it. This one's got crypto on the front of the Daily Planet newspaper.
Planet, yeah.
But also look at the drink cup. The drink cup has a cape with a nice little Superman thing on the top, little crypto, the keychain. They got a lot going on there. So that's AMC's offerings.
Oh, it looks like those plug the top of the drink, right?
What's that?
Do those plug the top of the drink? Look at the crypto at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They're all drink top plugs. The looks like the Superman logo, the crypto, and the Superman on top are like the plugs. I didn't even realize that. Jonathan Voico is an expert, ladies and gentlemen, on orifice plugs. Just he knows his orifice plugs.
Listen, there should always be one person in the room that knows for emergencies.
There needs to be at least one person
And has a
that
drawer full of different sized ones.
Rob's got,
Oh my god.
Rob's got CPR down, so we're good there. But I'm just looking out for everybody.
Just trying to make sure all the needs are met.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on now from AMC.
In one end, out the other.
Oh, I hope not.
Oh my god. This show is going off the rails. All right. Now we go down to Cinemark. And they are going crypto-centric, man. And I'm not talking about Ethereum. All right. So, first of all, crypto holding the popcorn bucket. Adorable. Absolutely adorable. There's something wrong with your cold dead heart if you don't love that.
Love that
But
it's on a pedestal too.
and it's on a very cool pedestal. But if you are a dog owner, like most civilized human beings are, look at the dog dish one, man. That is such a great idea. I absolutely love that one. So strong showing from Cinemark. We jump down now to Regal. And obviously the one seems like they're partnering with Funko. I don't know that for a fact, but it looks like they're partnering with Funko with a little baby crypto or a little baby, Crypto the Wonder Dog there with the bucket. That looks kind of cool. But look at the other one. This one is intricate, man. It is a movie theater style popcorn maker with the popcorn being made by Superman's heat ray vision busting through the glass. Full marks for creativity, man. That's pretty out of the box thinking. I like that. And again, the crypto looks absolutely adorable. And then we go down to Alamo, who I have to say, the simplest offering.
It is clean. I like it.
I do too.
But something very appealing about it.
Yeah.
And I'll
Seems
tell
like
you
the most functional.
here. Okay. I was about to say, my favorite part about it is as we go back and look at all of the ones, starting with the AMC one, doesn't actually looks like it holds a lot of popcorn. You look down at the crypto ones from Cinemark, look great, don't actually look like they hold a lot of popcorn. We look at the Regal one, very creative, doesn't look like it holds a lot of popcorn. This is a legit popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's textured. You see the belt, it isn't just printed on. The belt is actually physically extrudes from the bucket. It's got the loops on the belt and everything, the red underoos, the whole Superman thing on the top cover of it. But the key thing is, it's, as Jonathan said, it's practical too. It actually holds a lot of popcorn. So I gotta say, across the board, strong showings. I mean, seriously, there's not one here I straight up dislike. I think
Right.
all of these look great. So it's tough, but here's going to be my ranking. I'm going to say my least favorite out of all of these really good ones, is going to be Regals. Again, I like this. I would be happy to own this. Again, just the sheer amount of how little popcorn it seems to hold. Again, not really complaints. It's just that it just doesn't jump out to me as much. So I'm going to put in fourth spot here, Regal. Again, not a negative thing. I think they've done a very good job. It's just that the other ones have done, I think, even better. All right. My number 3 spot is going to be AMC. Again, kudos to AMC for this. I think this is great. I would love to own these. The newspaper box, the cup is fantastic. Everybody wants plugs. So it's just a strong showing for them. And I'm not putting it in third because there's anything bad. It's just a emphasis on the other two. My number 2 is going to go to the simple one. It's actually going to go to the Alamo Drafthouse one. Again, I think this looks clean. It looks like it's got the texture on it as well.
Yeah.
It's going to hold the most popcorn. It'll show very well. If you've got a collector shelf for this kind of thing, I think it'll show very well. So that'll be my number 2. My number 1, and it's just because it's the crypto holding the popcorn bucket, man. The big strike against it is that it doesn't look like it holds a lot of popcorn, but between that and the dog bowl, I'm going to give this one to, and congrats to Cinemark. So number 1, Cinemark, number 2, Alamo, number 3, AMC, and number 4, Regal. That's how I would rank them. But again, not a bad one in the bunch. These all look like a lot of fun, and I would love to own any of them. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to look at all of them. How would you rank it?
Okay, going from what you were just saying, all cogent points you're making, I would start off by saying, to give it a little philosophical bent, it's a popcorn bucket. That's what you're making. And if you think about what was the one that caused the first celeb popcorn, but it was Dune. You know, the Dune, the suggestive nature of that.
Yes, the fleshlight popcorn bucket.
But the thing about it was still a popcorn bucket.
Yes.
It was a bucket that had the top thing you could stick your hand in. That was creative. So the assignment is you've got to make a popcorn bucket, at least in my mind. That said, looking at all these, I'm going to go down to number 4. My fourth one is go down to it's this one.
Right.
It's Regal Theaters.
Now I think
that's
those
Alamo.
are
So you want Regals. So you want
this
one.
Oh
This
no
is
no
Regal.
no up then. Yeah, no, I thought Regal. It's this. It's
Alamos.
Is it? No, Alamos is the bottom.
Yeah,
one.
Alamo is this
the
one
bottom
right here.
That's Alamos.
Oh, you're looking at his. Oh, sorry, I thought you were on my screen.
Oh, yeah, because I can
no.
control it.
So sorry,
okay.
what's your number 4?
It's Regal.
Okay.
Now, and I'll tell you why. I like the crypto with the popcorn bucket, but I don't like the cuteness of it. I like, obviously, there's another one that has the same thing that's better.
Yeah.
I think while I appreciate the cleverness of the Regal Theaters, the Superman thing, I don't think this really fulfills the assignment. I think this is too clever for its own good. A popcorn machine with Superman. First of all, that popcorn machine would be one big popcorn machine. So even the focus of it, an actual popcorn machine that you see in a movie theater, that little tiny Superman, it would be a little dwarf Superman. So it doesn't work. It's cool, but conceptually, I think it's all wrong. And then the cute crypto thing is fine, but it doesn't appeal to me. So that's number 4. Number 3 is the Daily Planet box. This.
Okay.
Again, I love everything here. But again, you're now giving us a Daily Planet newspaper, a city newspaper distributor. Again, great idea, but it's not a popcorn bucket. You're reducing something in size, and it doesn't fit the assignment. It's clever and cool, and the design is great, but this is a weird thing to say, but as somebody who's 1/6, 1/12, I'm building a 1/8 scale model right now. The scale of this is wrong. The idea, that's not what
We don't really know the scale. That's the problem.
and it's too small, and
But
it doesn't
the
have enough
soda
popcorn.
cup. The soda cup does kind of fulfill the
The soda
assignment.
cup's great,
Yeah.
but that's on a popcorn bucket.
Right.
But the
yeah,
soda
that's
cup's
true.
great.
Yeah, we're talking about the popcorn.
Yeah,
buckets.
the
You're
soda
right.
cup's great. I love the soda cup. The soda cup's great. These are all good, but I'm just saying for me. And so my number 2 is the actual real crypto. This one. I think because this is adorable.
It's so adorable.
And the design of the dog is canonical to the movie. And the thing about this is when you're done eating the popcorn in the film and you take this home, this is ubiquitous. You could put this popcorn bucket anywhere. I could fill it with Jolly Ranchers, individually wrapped Jolly Ranchers. I could fit it with Bruce's Candy Kitchen from Cannon Beach, Oregon. There's cinnamon,
Skittles,
saltwater taffy,
M&Ms.
whatever you want to put in there. Anything would work. And you put that anywhere and it's going to put a smile on someone's face. And then the dog bowl, if that's what you want to get, that's ubiquitous too. I have 4 dogs. You could use that anywhere.
Yeah, because then you can actually reuse it as an actual dog bowl.
100%.
Yep.
100%. And I love the design of those. But my number 1 is Alamo's because I love this. Like you pointed out, this is a great popcorn bucket. As far as a popcorn bucket goes, this is awesome. But at the same time, because it's got the raised detailing, both the logo, it's got the piping from the actual costume, it has the texture, and it's got a lid. To me, that's the one I would buy first because I can put the most popcorn in it and it'll look cool on a shelf. And you can use it for anything. You could turn that into a planter if you wanted to, and put a plant in it, and it would be a cool vase for a
You
plant
can keep
in
your
house.
plugs in it.
You could keep your plugs in it.
You got to keep them
Yes,
organized, you know.
could.
Um,
Yes. You could.
Jonathan, you had a chance to glance over. Just quickly, how would you rank them for
Plugs.
yourself?
Plugs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Plugs.
I'll just keep my preamble brief. I actually feel like I understand Rob's going for the functionality.
Right.
I think this is more a form because ultimately you're using it once in a theater. after that, it's being displayed. These are collectibles. So
Yeah.
my number one
Yeah, you're
is
not spending $45 for a thing of popcorn. I appreciate that.
Right.
so, but I understand that and I get it. Number one is going to be this one right here with Superman heating up the
popcorn maker?
popcorn, followed by the newspaper, which Gen A is going to be like, what the hell is that?
Right.
Is going to be that. Number three, I'm actually, as far as I like this, but actually my number three, because it's right in the middle, it is form and function for that one day, but also
it's inspired.
like, you know, jokes aside, you can display this, and like I live in a limited like space, so anytime I can throw like use something for storage, like I could display that and it stores things, so that's great. That's number three. You know, this one's cool. You could throw your keys in that or something on your desk, so it kind of goes both ways with that. But I think number four was actually the dog statue. I love
love it.
like that looks like a statue. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So then this would be my fifth, and then my sixth here would be the dog bowl.
Oh, you're going actual individual
Yeah.
ones. You're
Yeah.
bringing down the individual ones. All right, guys. Question is for you. A lot of creative stuff in here. I got to say, once again, kudos to all of the theater chains with their exclusives on these. I think they all look wonderful. I'd be happy to have any of them on my desk. Yeah, hopefully the movie's good, or else they're going right back into the garbage. What's your favorite out of the bunch? Are there any that you straight up don't like? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your plugs. All right. With that down, guys.
We don't want to know their plugs, John.
No
We really don't.
What is it that Destiny's Child saying? I don't want no plugs. No, anyway. So again, Jen A has no idea what that even means. Like, what's Destiny's Child? They're saying. All right, guys, listen, we've got a number of other things we need to talk about, including no nepotism in Hollywood, but Jason Momoa's kid, who's never acted before, just landed a role in Dune 3 as Paul Atreides' kid. We're going to talk about that, and wondering what James Gunn's Batman's going to be like? Well, he's saying, I ain't interested in a campy, funny Batman. He says some other interesting things, too, about, you know, the status of the Batman 2 with Matt Reeves, and also some interesting insight about where they're at with Andy Muschietti possibly directing The Brave and the Bold. Anyway, we're going to talk about those things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp.
Say my name, say my name.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Guys, one of the things that's really frustrating to me is that there's still a lot of stigma around men's mental health, but it should not be that way. Men are expected to always stay strong, keep it together, provide, perform, and yet over 6 million men in the US experience depression each year, and many go undiagnosed. It's okay to admit that you could use some help. Real strength is being able to say, I need to talk to someone. That's where BetterHelp comes in. With over 35,000 licensed therapists, BetterHelp is the largest online therapy platform in the world, having already helped over 5 million people. And it's super convenient. You can join sessions from anywhere, whenever it works for you. You can even switch therapists anytime at no extra charge. And the results speak for themselves. BetterHelp has a 4.9 out of 5 rating on the App Store with over 1.7 million reviews. So guys, if you're feeling the weight of the world, don't carry it alone. Talk it out with BetterHelp. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can connect you with mental health professionals who understand what you're going through. Our listeners and viewers get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Dune 3 is coming. And it's coming hot off the heels of what I personally consider, not everybody agrees, and that's fine. I personally consider to be the single best movie of the last 10 years in Dune 2. That's how good I think that movie is. So we got Dune 3 coming. How closely based? Not sure, but on Dune Messiah. That's going to be coming out. Well, we now have some new casting. Now, we of course know that Jason Momoa is going to be in the third one, but how? He died in the other. Yeah, but if you know the book, he comes back.
He does.
A ghoul of him comes back.
Cool.
But it ain't just Jason Momoa coming back. His semen is coming back too.
Wow.
As it's now been announced in Deadline
We're going to get a letter from Jason.
that Nokoa Wolf Momoa, Jason's kid, is going to be coming in with Silo actress Ida Brooke as Paul Atreides' twin kids. Of course, they are the kids of Paul Atreides and Chani, and they have twins in this. And Jason Momoa's kid doesn't really have any acting credits to his name.
But the girl, man, she looks like she could be from Zendaya.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good casting.
Listen, okay, look, the nepotism stuff aside, I don't believe pure physical appearance should be nearly ranked as high as people do. But if we're going to talk about pure physical appearance, all right, when I look at these two,
He looks Fremen.
do I see siblings? 100% I do.
Yep.
You tell me these, if you told me, just showed me this random picture, said, do you believe these two are siblings? I'd go, yeah. If you showed me this picture and said, would you believe these kids are the offspring of Zendaya and I almost said Paul Atreides, but Timothy Chalamet? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, look at Momoa's kid.
Leto the second Ganima.
If you said that this is the kid they cast to play Paul when he was even younger, if they were going to do flashbacks, I would say, wow, nailed it. If I didn't know it was Momoa's kid, I'd go, nailed it. So, nepotism stuff aside, you look at this and you'd say, twins, Chani and Paul Atreides kids, I buy it. Totally buy it. And you already got the kid's dad on set because Jason Momoa's going to be in there. So, and look, everybody needs their first role, right? It's not the most predominant role in the story.
No, I would imagine not at all.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Atreides or Leto Atreides II becomes a very significant character later on.
Yeah.
But I mean, so it's okay. It's fine. But I'll say based the look, it's hard to argue too much when I'm going to be able to look, because a lot of times I watch a movie where they have supposed siblings and it's like, they do not look like they were spawned from the same parents. Like I look at these two, I'm like, I even buy that they're twins.
Yeah.
I even buy it. So anyway, Rob, as really the more Dune centric person in the room, probably it's fair to say you're the most Dune person in the room.
I got plugs down. He's got Dune. So
we all got to have our thing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody needs a
plugs,
thing.
though.
What do you think about the casting here?
I think actually, look, you could. I think that they don't play a huge part in Children of Dune. I mean, Dune Messiah. They're dipping into Children of Dune a little bit here, I believe.
Yeah.
So I find that to be fine, and I'm willing to bet you that how did this happen? People be like, oh, nepotism. I don't think that somebody without acting experience ever just gets a job. It wouldn't surprise me if Denis Villeneuve hadn't met him before on set when he was visiting his dad.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Maybe he came to the desert when they were shooting, and Denis Villeneuve saw that the kid. Obviously, if you're Jason Momoa's kid, you've got to have some riz. You've got some, because you see him on social media. Jason Momoa is a pretty funny guy. He'd be a great father to have, and if any of that rubbed off on you, you'd probably be a pretty charming kid. And I'll bet Denis Villeneuve saw that in him. And
Zoe, to your point, Zoe Kravitz, like, for those of you who don't know, Jason Momoa is basically a father to her.
Yeah.
And she adores him. They have a beautiful relationship. So he's probably a pretty fun dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure the kid's a really outgoing kid. And the fact that he probably isn't a large role. I mean, in those movies anyway, most of the dialogue's cut out. There's hardly any long talking acting scenes. It's all so visually oriented. Villeneuve famously said, I wish I could make a movie without dialogue at all.
Yeah.
So he probably saw that in him and said, hey, called up Jason Momoa and said, well, what about your kid playing, Leto too? And
has like 12 lines.
Yeah. And it's happened, so look, seeing them together in terms of Villeneuve's vision, I think it's perfect.
And by the way, good looking kid, Momoa's kid.
Yeah, both of them, beautiful kids.
He's got the blue steel kind of look about him there.
Yeah,
like already. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, look at them. They look like they belong in Dune 3.
Yes, I think it was Jonathan that kind of murmured when we started this. Is like, Also, I said, do they look like siblings? Yes. Do they look like the children of Paul and Johnny?
Absolutely, 100%.
Do they look Fremen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
Look
look
at that.
Fremen.
I mean, look. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
see it.
Well, and if you put
Come on.
Zendaya next to them,
Yeah, and then if you
Exactly.
put Zendaya, she totally looks
it's
like
like
Zendaya's
I mean,
daughter.
it could be the greatest casting of kids ever.
Now, hopefully, this isn't the next incarnation of Coppola's daughter,
Oh, Sophia.
Sophia.
Sophia Coppola in Godfather 3, which
oh.
was Godfather 3 is a much better movie than people give it credit for.
Yeah,
But
she
there's
didn't
no
do it any
defending the
favors.
Sophia Coppola stuff in it. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, but don't take away from her star turn in Two Moon Junction when she wasn't even named that.
I don't know. Like at first when I read the
Oh,
headline,
pardon me. I didn't mean to say Two Moon Junction. I meant to say Rumblefish.
Oh, there you go.
oh, you know what? Why did I just think you were right?
She's Diane Lane's sister in Rumblefish, and it's like I don't know why I said Two Moon. I've got Sherilyn Fenn on the brain, man. I don't know what to do.
While I completely admit when I first read the headline, Jason Momoa's kid joining him in Dune 3, I thought, oh, here we go. But you're right. If he's just hanging around the set of Dune with his dad, and Denis meets him and just sees him and says, "And hey, listen, if Denis started looking at him, and then as he's writing the script, he's just picturing him in his head, put him in."
I think that's what
especially if
happens.
it's not like a huge acting role. Like if he doesn't have 12 pages of dialogue, this could be fine. It could be fine. He certainly's nails the look. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They've now cast the twin kids of Paul and Chani, and one of them happens to be Jason Momoa's son. I think the look is incredible. But anyway, what do you feel about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we're all excited about Superman coming out. I know I am. My most anticipated film of the year. Cannot wait. Then we got Supergirl coming. We got the Lantern show coming. We got a Clayface movie coming. But one of the big things that everybody's still zeroing in on is that, okay, that's great. That's great. Where's Batman? Who's our Batman? And a lot of people are still focused on that. Now, they announced a director a long time ago, and Andy Muschietti. I have believed for a while he's not actually going to end up directing the movie. I don't think Andy Muschietti is going to end up directing this movie. And recently, Paul Safran said they were talking about the script for Batman Brave and the Bold. And what Safran said was interesting. He said, you know, we still have to get the script finished. Once we get the script finished, we'll go to Andy with it, and then we'll see if Andy's a fit. To me, that's them laying the groundwork that Andy Muschietti's not going to be directing. By the way, I'm all for Andy Muschietti directing.
Me too.
It, but I have a feeling he won't be. But that's aside from the fact. So, couple of Batman issues. Now, before we get to the DCU Batman, there's still also the outstanding issue of where the hell is the Batman 2? We got told that Matt's turning in the script on, what was it, Labor Day? Was it Labor Day?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. Thank you.
Yeah.
I get my American holidays all mixed
Yeah.
up. Memorial Day. Well, Memorial Day came and went, and we still don't have a script. And so people continue to talk about maybe them canceling the Batman 2, to which this article in IGN, which they were also talking about, James Gunn said this: amid the speculation about how Gunn will handle Batman, rumors have sprung up that the Batman Part 2 is canceled. But Gunn denies this, insisting that director Matt Reeves is just, quote unquote, being slow, which Matt has had as a reputation for years of being really slow. However, it sounds like the movie is some way off given there's no script. James Gunn says, I'll also say Batman Part 2 is not canceled, Gunn said. That's the other thing I hear all the time, that Batman Part 2 is canceled. It's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. I mean, listen, though. I mean, James Gunn has got to understand why people would feel frustrated at this point. I mean, the reason characters become successful is because people kind of take a misplaced sense of ownership of the characters, right? That's part of what leads to their success. So you can't love that and then get upset when fans feel like, hey, what's going on? Like, where is this? It has been years. And granted, there was a writer's strike and all that stuff. And there may be other things going on with Matt on the side, granted. But you can't get frustrated when fans are going, hey, where the hell is this thing? Where's number 2? We went to see the first one. You asked us to invest our time and money in going to see the first. We did. You gave a promise we'd get another one, and it's been years. And we still don't even have a script. So James Gunn says, look, Matt's slow. I mean, he just came out and said the thing finally. Somebody had to come out and say it other than me. Matt's slow. So we don't have it yet, but relax. We're getting part 2. That's great. Now, so there's that. The other big thing, though, is the whole idea about what is this Batman going to be? What kind of Batman are we going to get in this new iteration of the DCEU?
What kind of Batman are you?
Yeah, what kind of Batman are you? All right. That's what a lot of people are asking. And here's what James Gunn had to say. He said, I'm going to read this in length because I think it's really interesting. He said, so outside of the stuff that I'm doing in the projects that are actively going on, our 2 priorities are finishing our Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts. Gunn then discussed in vague terms the kind of Batman he's going for, or perhaps it would be better to say the kind of Batman he's trying to avoid. Batman has to have a reason for existing, right? Says James Gunn. So Batman can't just be, oh, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Brothers, which he is. But because there's a need for him in the DCU and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman, but yet he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. Now, before I keep reading, a lot of people were concerned that James Gunn, because he is so good at humor, was going to give us a Batman, right? But he's saying he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a funny, campy Batman, really. So we're dealing with that. I think I have a way in, but the way, I think it's really, I really know what it's, I'm just dealing with the writer to make sure we can really make it a reality. And that's going to be a tricky thing for him. That's going to be the code to crack, right? Like, look, I know we are not going for the Bat Nipples Batman or the Adam West Batman. Or the Michael Keaton Batman. I'm not looking for camp. I'm not looking for a funny Batman. Okay, that's your mandate. But your other mandate, he says, is I don't want him to be too much like Matt's Batman. Matt's Batman is in a quote unquote realistic world, a world where there's no magic and monsters and aliens and magic lassos and rings of will. And like those things don't exist. He's a man in a world of men and there's problems and it's gritty and it's realistic. We need a Batman who is not campy or funny or whatever, but exists in a world where there are gods and monsters. But we don't want him to be too much like Matt's. And that's going to be the trick, right? How do you make a Batman that is that philosophy of Batman, the Dark Knight kind of Batman? I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman, all that kind of stuff, without it being just Robert Pattinson's Batman Part 2. And no, guys, he's not going to bring Robert Pattinson over as Batman.
I wish
That's
people
not
would
happening.
stop saying that.
Yeah, it ain't happening. Let it go. Let me just bring this up. Let me see if I can find it here quick.
2 things I want to hear people stop saying. I want to stop hearing that Warner Brothers doesn't want 2 Batmen. Like you were in the boardroom and you heard that. You weren't. And then stop saying that Pattinson's going to be in this world. He does not fit tonally.
Yeah, when asked about it, James Gunn finally came out and said, look, I would never say 0 because you just never know. He said, but it's not likely. It's not likely at all. Guys, it's not going to happen. Robert Pattinson's not going to be the Batman in that. So just get past that. Anyway, Rob, it sounds like James Gunn has a vision for what his Batman needs to be, but he's set a narrow path. Not funny, not campy, not a jokey Batman, but doesn't want it to be too much like Robert Pattinson's Batman, which is the antithesis of those other things. What do you think about what he's saying? What stands out to you? And where do you think that median is for him to find that way to crack this nut?
Well, I think he's absolutely right because, the thing about Batman's concerns is Batman is really concerned about, not like the shadow, but he is concerned with what evil lurks in the hearts of men.
Yeah.
He's dealing with street level violence. He's dealing with corruption in large scales and companies, and he's dealing with the evil that men do. Almost a mundane, the banality of evil is what Batman is fighting against, and brought on by the fact that his parents were murdered right in front of him. What I love about that Batman is suddenly Batman exists in a world. This Batman was forged in a world where gods and monsters already existed. So I would think that if anything, and that's why I can't wait to see Batman interact with Guy Gardner in this universe. I can't wait.
Oh man,
I can't wait.
There's a particular scene I have in my mind.
There is,
out,
but just
yes.
In general, Batman would just be, he does not suffer fools gladly. I think half the craziness of all these superheroes, Batman has no time for. It's like he has no time for it because it's not serious. Like Guy Gardner, because by very virtue of being a Green Lantern and the whole Guardians of Oa, and Batman's like, I can't be concerned with your cosmic business, you buffoon. I have to deal with somebody's going to get hurt on the streets of Gotham tonight. And you're flipping people off with your disembodied hand. I mean, I can only imagine that the humor in the Batman, in this Batman, will come out of the fact that a serious crime fighter has to deal with the nonsense of the universe that James Gunn has created. And I think that it's not, I'm not saying it's going to be slapsticky, but there is humor there. And I think Justice League International, the comic book that I'm sure James Gunn looked to, that's where the scene that I'm talking about, that everybody knows came from. The way they played Batman off in that comic was pretty great because he had to deal with these idiots. But at the same time, if you go and read a series like Identity Crisis, where Batman had to have a contingency, like what if the Justice League, what if all these people turned against me?
Well, I was going to go there for a second because I wanted to ask you this question. Now you brought up. So there's this wonderful story, both in the animation and other places, about where basically the Justice League find out that Batman has created intricate plans for how to take all of them out.
Yes.
Right?
OMAC.
And it creates obviously some tension. But there's one of the really key things in all those sorts of storylines is when asked, Superman doesn't say that Lex Luthor is the most dangerous person in the world. He doesn't say Wonder Woman is the most dangerous person in the world. He doesn't even say, who does Superman say is the single most dangerous person in the world? Batman.
Yeah.
And I want James Gunn to give us whatever he's giving us. I'm not one of these fans that makes a laundry list of make sure Batman has the yellow thing in his crest and make sure Batman has no. I don't do that. But the one thing I really hope to see is that Batman that we feel it the moment he comes on screen. Powers or not, everybody else in the room looks and goes, that's the one guy you don't piss off. And I really hope they're able to deliver that.
Yeah, and look, to me, the same reason I'm really excited about the tone of James Gunn's Superman is the same reason that I am excited about seeing Batman in this universe. Because I remember the Batman of the 80s, whether you're reading the Jim Aparo drawn, I keep going back to Batman and the Outsiders, which was a ridiculous, he would fight people like the Nuclear Family. And it was crazy, and his katana and Halo and Metamorpho and all the crazy, and Batman then had to deal with the Justice League International, and the way it was funny, but he also had to still be Batman for real. And the way people treated Batman is they took him very seriously. They're like, oh, we got to stop horsing around now. And there was something inherently amusing about that, but it was still Batman.
Yeah.
And I think that once they figure out, look, the audience is going to take time to get used to something like that. It's going to be hard. And I think that that's what people object to. The thing about the Zack Snyder movies is they're kind of one note. You know what you're getting. You're getting this godlike, heavy metal, Sturm und Drang, Wagnerian look at these characters. But the James Gunn universe has to give us many different colors for each character in terms of their personalities. And that's something we haven't seen lately. And I'm really looking forward to that. And no one would benefit from that more than Batman in terms of the fun factor, because all this goofiness is going to be bouncing off him. And he's going to be the guy that's just going to stop and say, like, are you finished?
Yeah.
And that's going to be hilarious.
And
like,
you know how great that will be? Because you've got, we saw the Peacemaker season 2 trailer, right? And so you've got Guy Gardner and you got Hawk Girl, who are very much like, I'm not trying to pigeonhole or create labels, but for the sake of the discussion, who are basically feel kind of like have the tone of Guardians of the Galaxy characters.
Yes.
Right? That's great. Now you have them with a Superman who doesn't feel like a Guardians of the Galaxy character, but then put them in the room with the grown-up and put them in the room with the Batman, who is decidedly not like a Guardians of the Galaxy character. I think the on-screen dynamics could be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Batman's Patton.
Yeah.
He's going to be Patton dealing with all these underlings and stuff.
Right.
But Patton, in the movie, even, he fights Rommel. He's like, I read your book, Rommel. Like there's something there for that. And I'm looking forward to it.
It doesn't even have to be what Batman says as the straight man or whatever. It could be how people react to him.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
So you could have a situation where a Guy Gardner or fill in the blanks type of situation where he's like mouthing off, turns around, Batman's right behind him. Jesus Christ.
Batman's behind me, isn't
Yeah. And that's how it's going to go. And the funny thing about it is, Batman is the one person that Superman knows that he's the adult in the room. And even Superman's kind of goofy, kind of younger. Whereas Batman is the most mature and the most focused person. He's the CEO of the superheroes. You don't F with him. When Batman talks, he's like E.F. Hutton. People listen.
By the way, the end of that story is great, especially in the animated version. That whole story where Batman created a contingency plan for how to take out all the superheroes just in case any of them went bad. And after the kind of rift they have and everybody's pissed off about it, well, of course, you'd be pissed off if you found out one of your friends was planning how to kill you. But like Superman says to him as Batman's leaving, what about you? What's the contingency plan for you, Batman? Batman turns to Superman and says, you. It's a great moment,
it's
man.
Great.
It's a wonderful moment. I really, really dig that moment. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about what James Gunn's been talking about here? Number one, listen, anybody keeps saying, oh, they're not going to do a Batman 2. Yeah, the Batman Part 2 is still coming. Matt Reeves is just slow. We've been saying that for a long time around here. He's just slow. But what do you think about what he's saying about his vision for Batman? Look, I'm not interested in a campy, funny Batman, but I don't want to make him too much like Pattinson's Batman either. Anyway, where do you think they're going to go with that? What's kind of their goalpost here? What are they aiming for? How do you think would be the best way to manifest it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to bid adieu to the great Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend.
Thank you. I'm going to go buy some more plugs.
I'll text you, give you some recommendations.
Thanks, man.
By the way, it was, of course, not Destiny's Child that's saying, I don't want no scrubs. It was TLC that's saying that. Still, none of Gen A would understand it.
I made a Two Moon Junction Rumblefish remark, too. So
now, of course, before we get to your questions, guys, we're going to take another quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends over at Stitch Fix. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Stitch Fix. Guys, you know I love movies, but you also know I have absolutely no fashion sense, and I absolutely hate shopping for my clothes. But thankfully, I have found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. With Stitch Fix, I get a stylist who understands my style, size, and budget, and they do all the shopping for me. Because look, shopping and figuring out style can be overwhelming, especially for somebody like me. When it comes to getting dressed, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. That's why I love having a Stitch Fix stylist. They really know what works for me. I get pieces that make me look great, and it's a real confidence boost. You just give your stylist your size, style, and budget preferences. You get to order boxes when you want and how you want, no subscription required. They send you personalized pieces, and the fit is always on point. No stores, no crowds, no stress. Just personalized looks that you will love. So guys, make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Campea. That's stitchfix.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Stitch Fix for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the important stuff, shall we? Your topics and questions. Jonathan, what we got up first?
All right. This bumped to the top, so I'm going to start with the top, and then we'll fix it in a second. So Brian Garcia wanted to, hi guys, speaking of Sony, have either of you tried out their limited streaming app, Sony Pictures Core? No. I like that it feels like a premium exclusive as it's, just bumped. Sorry about that. As it's only available on Sony Bravia TVs, which I have, and on the PS5 too, I think. Sadly, it's not free. You have to rent movies individually or buy sets of credits to redeem for movies or subscribe to 6 or 12 months to watch all their movies. But the best perk is their IMAX Enhanced Collection Disney Plus has for MCU movies.
I have not heard of it, and it doesn't sound like something that would interest me. I personally, I would never buy or rent my digital online movies on a service that is so pigeonholed. Like you can only access it on a Bravia TV, or you can only access it from PlayStation. Like I still get all of mine basically on YouTube and the Google movies, because then I just have them anywhere on any device, anytime I want, wherever. So it doesn't sound. Now, interesting, fun story. Back when I was still at Collider, we were talking about selling. There had been talk that maybe Complex was looking at parting, if I'm remembering all this correctly, that Complex, which was the owner of Collider, was looking at maybe allowing to sell off the video, Collider Video, which I ran. And one of the people interested in buying Movie Talk, which was the name of my show, was Sony. And they were talking about making it a PlayStation exclusive show on whatever their streaming platform was going. I don't think we've ever publicly said this. Maybe we have. And so we weighed a couple of things. Number one was it will limit our audience, but they were talking about paying a lot of money.
Yeah, we were definitely, there was talk of it going, we were public with it going behind a paywall. We never said where.
Yeah, and there were a couple of suitors. There were a couple of suitors coming after us, but Sony was one of them. But the interesting thing was not just the money they were willing to pay to have us as an exclusive thing on there, but was that the money they were willing to also put up for us to raise our production value and really expand what we were doing. Right. Ultimately, it just never ended up being the right fit, and we didn't. But we came close, relatively close, to ending up on a thing just like the one you're mentioning there.
Yep.
All right. What's next?
Okay. Now, this was from yesterday. Old Danny Boy says, Little Caesars Fantastic Four clip. If it's part of the movie, it's biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. If it's just made for the commercial, it's fantastic.
I feel the exact same way. If, like Jonathan pointed out, if that whole thing is really just a part of the commercial, it's just for the commercial, great job. If it's actually a cut from the movie, not so good job. So
I can't imagine.
I'm not going to pass judgment until I see what it actually is.
I just cannot
I
imagine.
hope you're right. I you know what? The more I look at it, the more I think you're right, and I hope you're right. If it is the movie, that looks bad.
From everything we've seen, I just cannot.
Everything else has looked so good, and then this looks so bad. But I'm starting to believe you're right. All right, what's next?
Anonymous. Not sure if this has been asked, but do you think, since we're getting the John Williams Superman score, could or should we get the Danny Elfman score for Batman?
No.
I would lose it. Maybe a tweaked version like the new John Murphy score.
No. I think today's audience more identifies Batman with the Christopher Nolan Batman. Honestly. Don't get me wrong. And I think they even used a little bit of the Elfman score
in the DCEU.
Yeah, in the DCEU, right? They did. And good. But honestly, I think today audiences would more identify with like Hans Zimmer's Batman stuff. At the end of the look, in superhero music, the most single iconic piece of music ever is John Williams' Superman score. There's nothing else that comes close in the world of superheroes and all that kind of stuff. Nothing else comes close. I don't think you can do it with the Batman one, to be honest. And even if you were, they'd probably borrow notes from Hans Zimmer's score rather than Elfman's score. So no, I don't think they use the Elfman score. I don't know that for a fact. I could be wrong. Some people are saying Star Wars. Did you not listen to me? I said in the world of superhero movies. Yeah. Anyway, yes. What's next?
All right. Mustang Racer. Hey, John, I watched your discussion on the Snyder Cult yesterday. Some people have too much time on their hands. The Snyderverse is dead, and the box office returns confirm that. It's not coming back. Enjoy the new Superman instead of trying to ruin it.
Yeah. And listen, and I say that as somebody who other than Wonder Woman 1984 and other than Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie, I liked all of them. Particularly Man of Steel, which I think is the best movie they ever did and the most underrated comic book film of all time. But I liked Batman versus Superman, and I all to varying degrees, but I liked Justice League, both the theatrical and the HBO cut. I loved the first Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed the first Aquaman. I liked Blue Beetle and Shazam. I like Shazam too. Like I liked Black Adam. I mean, as somebody who liked almost all of it, even though I like it, you got to acknowledge the clear facts. Most of the audience didn't support it. Most of the audience didn't love it. And eventually they, it's kind of like with Transformers. The more and more they put out stuff that the audience didn't like, the less and less the audience started to come. And it's just a reality. So, hey, I liked it. What is it? Who was it that said it is better to have loved and to have lost than never to have loved at all?
I feel like that was Shakespeare.
Let that be your thing. Hey, we had it. What is it? Don't mourn that you lost a thing. Celebrate that you had it. And that's how we should feel about the Snyderverse. If you were a fan of a lot of the movies in it, like I was, celebrate that we had it. And now let's move on. If you can't move on, grow up. Anyway. All right, what's next?
It's Tennyson. Sorry. We got Anonymous, who says, have you ever seen, I have never seen How to Train Your Dragon and know nothing about it. Should I watch the animated or the live action? I mean, I would get the theatrical experience while you can.
Yeah, get the theatrical experience first. Go see the live, again, if you've not seen the animated one, go see the live action movie first, for sure. But then go back and watch. Now, you don't need to have seen the animated ones because this is a remake of it, right? You're getting the story. But I would personally say, go in and watch this one first, so you'll have a pure viewing experience of it on its own terms. And then by all means, go back and watch the animated movies because they're fantastic. All right, what's next?
Snyder and Gunn fan. R.E. Snyder cut. I wish Zach would have had the team jump through the portal to off Darkseid to end the story instead of the silly post-credit scenes he made. But it's refreshing in a way to see fans being toxic about something else besides race, gender. Just kidding.
But there is some truth to that too. I mean, obviously that's not something he should have done because, I mean, the thought process was that we'll make this, hopefully people will like it, it'll make money, it'll make a big splash, and we'll then have where we're going next. Plus, I mean, if they had jumped through that portal, then you're talking about another half-hour battle scene, and that movie's already too long. But listen, it is. It is what it is. Again, we have those movies. I like those movies. I go back and watch them every once in a while. But their time is now done, and it's time that we move on. All right. And by the way, I've heard a lot of people say, well, they should have then just let him make that last one. That's not good business. You don't just burn money for the sake of, because
that would have been a lot of money.
They would have lost a lot of money on it. And you don't just burn it. We'll say, well, we should just finish it. Let's burn $200 million. Like, that's not good business. That's not how you do things. Now, I would have watched it, but it's not how you do things. No. All right, what's next?
Johnny Shalev says, hey, John and crew, I'm currently playing Expedition 33. Loving the gameplay, but it's next level narrative-wise. Crazy good. Lends itself so well to an on-screen adaptation, in my opinion. Thing is, after The Last of Us, all I seem to want is for it to get that treatment. Get picked up by HBO or Apple and adapted to a live-action series. Don't sleep on Amazon. I know anything else could be great, but The Last of Us set such a high standard that all I want is that. Have you played it? I highly recommend. Thanks, Bring on the Filthy.
I still haven't played it. And it looks interesting to me because I really like turn-based stuff. And people tell me it's a turn-based kind of mechanics. Looks good to me. Now, it's tough because I don't have a lot of time to sit down and play games. And when I do have time to sit down and play games, I'm picking up my new Nintendo Switch 2. Been playing a lot of Mario Kart with Ann, and redoing. I never did finish, by the way. I'm saying I'm redoing it, but I never finished Breath of the Wild.
But you're doing it with the upped version.
And now they've got the updated version
Yeah.
where it's the graphics are better and all that kind of stuff. So I just re-downloaded that. I kind of like that. They were like, hey, if you owned Breath of the Wild on the Switch 1, you can buy the fully upgraded one for, I think it was $9.
Yeah, that's nice when you can just upgrade for a little bit.
I'm like, great. That's wonderful. So I paid the $9, and that's kind of where my video game time is going right now. But I do want to get around to this one because everybody tells me, not only tells me it's really good, a lot of people tell me that I would really like it. So I do want to get on that soon.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Parker. Hey all, what do you think the chances are that we get some public footage of Project Hail Mary this summer, possibly with a big movie like Superman, Fantastic Four, Jurassic Park? Have a great week.
Not very good.
That's very close.
Because the movie would still be like 6-7 months away. So I'm not expecting that.
We're only 4 weeks from like these things starting to hit theaters. So.
Yeah, we're like 3 weeks away
Yeah.
from Superman. I really don't think so. I mean, they could, but man, I think, okay. One of the contenders for winning CinemaCon was Project Hail Mary, man. I can't remember how much of it, where they show us like 8 minutes or 12 minutes. I can't remember exactly, but they showed us a bunch of stuff and it looks so good. Ryan Gosling, Lord and Miller. Man, it's going to be a contender for biggest film of the year and best film of the year. It's going to be, it just looks so ridiculously good. I can't wait for the rest of you guys to see some footage from it, but I don't think it's coming this summer. Again, I could be wrong. I don't know, but my guess is we won't get it this summer. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous. I saw the episode of potential Wonder Woman candidates. Don't forget, according to the ancient historian Herodotus, he placed the Amazons living in Libya. You can actually see ancient drawings of women taking part in the ancient Olympic Games. So I guess that expanding
but also don't forget, Themyscira isn't real. They could say it's 5 miles hidden off the coast of Cuba. They could say it's hidden in the middle of Lake Ontario. It's fictional. So, but that's true. That you could do a lot. And I think what drives me crazy sometimes is when you're dealing with something that is so purely fictitious, like hordes of Vikings that fight dragons. Totally fictitious, guys, not real. It's make-believe. Sorry, guys. I took a sip of something and a drop went down the wrong way. Anyway, totally fictitious, not real in the least. It's just that it has been portrayed one way before. There's nothing that says it needs to be continued to be portrayed that way. So if they make Wonder Woman look a little bit differently, all that kind of stuff, well, it's supposed to be part of the Greek. And tell me, please enlighten me. What do real Greek gods look like? Tell me, please enlighten me. Oh, that's right, they're not. I'd be all for it. They could say they're pygmies. I don't care. Like, do whatever you want to do. It's Themyscira. It's make believe. Just do what you want to do. All right, what's next?
Bengals. I now believe in comic book movie fatigue. My saying was always, if you make a good comic book movie, it will not fail. But Thunderbolts has ruined that. The only comic book movie that failed 2020s that didn't deserve was, I'm not sure what TSS is. Even that film had excuses. HBO Max, our pandemic. Only big CBM IP now.
He probably means the Suicide Squad.
Oh,
guys,
yeah,
please don't write in acronyms. Well, I mean, yes, that was that was a movie that was released on streaming the same day they tried to put it in theaters in the midst of a pandemic and all that.
Yeah, what are you gonna?
But here's the thing: I still don't buy that because you guys know who watched the show long before Thunderbolts came out. Long before it came out, I said, "God, anybody who had big box office expectations of this movie, you're crazy."
I don't know how you can't use Thunderbolts as the.
It is literally a bunch of B, C, and D level throwaway characters and leftovers from Disney Plus shows. Like Guardians of the Galaxy were at least brand new characters that nobody had met or seen before, and it was all brand new. And people say, when I said it doesn't matter how good this movie is going to be, I mean, obviously, the better the movie is, the better it'll do, but you can't expect that movie was going to have any kind of big box office when it was literally all leftover B, C, and D level characters from Disney Plus shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that long before the movie ever came out. You'll see when Superman comes out, it's not comic book movie fatigue, it's mediocrity fatigue. And that's the other thing you're not taking in consideration. Marvel is in a place right now where their reputation is, fair or unfair, whether you agree or not, the general consensus, the general perception of the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now is one of mediocrity. And you're not going to that can be overcome, but you're not going to overcome that at the box office with a movie of B, C, and D level leftover characters from Disney Plus shows. It's just not going to happen.
But at least now they know they can make good stuff again.
Let's put it this way. If comic book movie fatigue is real, and it's not, it's been proven over and over and over and over again, but people still like to say, if comic book movie fatigue is real, Superman should open to $40 million and Fantastic Four should open to maybe 50. Right? Comic book movie fatigue.
What's with all the record-breaking first-day box office records?
Yeah, I mean, if that's real, if comic book movie fatigue is the real deal and everybody's just tired of these movies, nobody cares about it just because they're comic book movies, we're over it, we're fatigued with it, great. Superman shouldn't make over 40 million opening weekend. Do you think Superman's going to make over 40 million opening weekend? I don't think it's going to be nearly as big as everybody's projecting, but I feel pretty good it's going to be over 100 million. I don't think Fantastic Four is going to be $1 billion film at all, but I think that movie's going to open to over 100 million.
Well, that would be amazing.
And again, I'm just saying, if comic book movie fatigue is a thing, these movies won't open to over 50. And if they don't open to over 50, I'll start acknowledging comic book movie fatigue is a real thing, but it's not. It's mediocrity fatigue. And once they start making better product and start rebuilding their reputation, there's nothing stopping them from putting out, pardon me, $2 to $3 billion films a year again. But hey, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hey, listen, maybe Superman will open to $45 million. I don't think it'll be that low, but who knows? Maybe it will. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Brian's Game Talk says, How to Train Your Dragon was my second modern 3D film after Avatar, and the first flight scene was magical. Getting to experience this scene in the remake in 4DX absolutely brought that magical, joyous feeling back to the surface. Was an amazing time. I might want to see this in 4DX. I didn't think about it.
I haven't thought about that either.
I've been thinking about F1 there, and I haven't even thought about How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, 4DX, exactly. First thought, got to see F1 in 4DX. But now that you mention it, I would love to watch this movie again in 4DX, especially that flight scene. You're right, man. I'm not saying that the live action thing is better than the original animated. I'm not saying that at all. But they absolutely captured the magic of that flight scene. It was awe-inspiring watching it. But to watch that in 4DX, you just inspired me, man. I'm definitely going to go check it out in that. That's a great idea. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, have you heard Aaron Pierre is reportedly being considered as the new James Bond? Would be very good casting, in my opinion.
Guys, there's been rumors. Like we've had literally 30, 40, 50 names people have written in. Did you hear so-and-so is being considered? I'm sure every actor in Hollywood's being considered. Again, I'm not saying he won't. Anybody could end up getting the role, and that's fine. But unless it's actually coming from... I almost said Ted Sarandos. He's not the owner of Amazon.
Oh my God.
Why am I freezing on the Amazon guy's name?
Any other day. You literally took it from my head.
Penis head guy.
Yes. That's his name, actually.
Yeah, that's what he's got written. Bezos, Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. My God.
Unless I hear, pardon me again, unless I hear from Jeff Bezos, I don't worry about it. Just wait till it's something legit. All right, what's next?
All right, Jai says, Jai CSC of Steel. On the assumption that if movie releases in July, any box office earnings in following weeks count for July. Over under 2.3 billion worldwide box office for movies released in July. Got some big hitters. 2.3.
Okay, so what do we got? Bring up now, if you're talking about exclusively the three big, bring that up again. The three big ones. In July box office, following the week's count, over under gross for movies released in July. You know what? If you're going to count all movies released in July,
I think, yes.
On top of Superman,
yes.
Fantastic Four, Jurassic, you know what? I'll go one more. Since I do believe Jurassic has a legit shot at hitting $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not predicting it will. But you're talking, you only need these three films to average 7.5?
About there.
7.5, 750, 760, 770 million across the board. And that's just with those three. Yes, I'm going to say if you take all the films opening in July, that at the end of the day, by the time the year ends, the collective box office for July movies will be over 2.3 billion. I'll take the over on that. All right, what's next?
Okay. Luke Sandoval says, "Hi, John. I was curious as to what your preference is for the DCU Batman suit design. My own opinion, I think it's finally time to try out the blue and gray color scheme. Along with the white eyes, I think the design would really fit this new universe."
It's hard to express how little I care about costume design.
I know.
Now, I say that, but then they put the red underwear on the Superman thing, and I don't like that, right? But, I mean...
The nuances
really, I don't care.
Like, if I see it, and I'm like, oh, that looks so cool, but I'm not like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. You know?
Yeah, I mean, as long as when I look at the costume, I see Batman, right? As long as when I look at the costume, I see Batman, that's all, then great, we're good.
Look,
we're good.
I've loved pretty much, I mean, other than like the Schumacher like designs that went a little weird. I mean, but I loved the Battinson look. I loved Batfleck's look. I loved
Affleck's look great.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he had two different looks because he had the more leathery one in Batman v Superman, but then later on, a little different.
Yeah, and I like that too. They all work.
And Nolan's.
The one thing I would say is I think the gray and blue is counterproductive to the practicality.
To not being seen.
Yeah. If he lives in the shadows, the black suit. I mean, that makes more sense to me. But again, I'm open. As long as it's not neon yellow or anything like that, I think I'm pretty much open to anything. I really don't have many preferences other than that. All right, what's next?
Kendall, I must ask, isn't Superman being depowered news? He says, the Superman can be beat. That's interesting. No. Also, why do you think James Gunn said he wants to wait a bit until doing Flash again?
Well, okay. So with the Superman thing in the comics, Batman has beaten Superman. Superman's also beaten Batman, but Batman's beaten Superman can be beat. If Superman can't be beat, period, and stop, then what's the point of reading any comic that he's in?
If Mrs. Detmacher didn't realize her mom was in Hackensack, he would have died. He would have died in the first Superman movie.
So now look, even in the trailers, we hear Lex Luthor say that is the single most powerful being on Earth. That's the key. But even being the single most powerful being on Earth, if you got a movie where it's just, like he can't be beat, period. Well, then why are then any action scene's not exciting, anything like that. Every iteration of Superman can be beat. Even the Superman in Injustice Gods Are Among Us can be beat. He's just the most difficult to beat, but he can be beat nonetheless. As far as why wanting to wait to redo The Flash again, well, he's got 1 million characters to do. Look, we still don't have a Batman. We still don't have a Wonder Woman. We still don't have an Aquaman. We still don't have like a lot of the other secondary characters that he said he wants to do. So just timing, it's going to take a while to get around to some of these characters. And then secondly, Flash is one of the most recent characters that we had brought to the screen. So they probably wouldn't mind that would probably lower him on the priority list again. But even forget all of that. Just the fact that there's only so many characters they can do now, and then everybody else is going to have to wait a tick. And that includes Aquaman. That includes Flash. So that's probably the main reason why. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, have you seen the new Lois and Superman extended interview footage? Thoughts on it? If so, I think it lands better with the longer footage of it.
I have no idea what we're talking about. You talking about the TV
interview
show?
No. I think he means for the interview clip from the trailer where he says, all right, Cronkite. I guess there's a longer clip of that.
Oh, I'm not familiar with it. I'm sorry. Like, I apologize, but I'm not familiar with what we're talking about, unfortunately.
All
right, what's next?
Brian with the two-parter. Hi, guys. Speaking of Sony, have either of you tried... Oh, no. Okay, so now we're caught up to that part. So this is our last of the tips here. Hey, John, out of all the villains in Batman's Rogue Gallery, who would you want to see in the DCU Batman movie? I think a serious take on Mr. Freeze could work well. Exploring his tragic backstory feels right up James Gunn's alley.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. I never care. I never care about who the villain is.
I think he's a better fit to that than in the Pattinson universe, though.
Yes. We talked about this before. There's a way you could do Freeze in the Pattinson Batverse that would be a little bit more grounded,
more
and stuff like that. That could be fun.
Sure.
But like, to me, who you pick as your villain is not going to make your movie any better or worse if you don't write it well. Again, Dr. Doom is arguably, to some people, the greatest comic book villain ever. A lot of people think him, whatever. And they did 3 Fantastic Four movies with Dr. Doom in them, and yet they all sucked. Like, you got to have a good movie, you got to have good scripts, you got to have good writing, and then it doesn't really matter which villain you insert in, as long as you do them well, write them well, all that kind of stuff. Now, that all being said, I have always loved the idea of seeing a KG Beast. I know that's not the popular one, but I love KG Beast. And I think he's a great foil for both in a Pattinson kind of universe and a DCU. So that would be kind of fun. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They could literally put in Calendar Man.
Mm-hmm.
If you write it really well and you have a great story for it, it'll be more effective than putting in one of his more famous villains and not have a great script. So
sure.
Again, all other things being equal, I'd like to see KG Beast, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter to me. All right. What's next?
We got some members here.
Great. Let's hear from our members.
Marco says, my favorite acting moment in Sinners was when Michael B. and the kid were in the car. I said this myself.
That was great. Yeah.
He was playing the guitar, but as soon as he started to sing with that amazing voice, the way Michael B. turned to look at him with awe, it looked so much as a genuine response, to the point that I actually wonder if he was not allowed to hear his voice until that moment, because it felt like he broke character. He's capable of acting that just fine, but it felt genuine. You're right.
I do think he did hear him sing before. I just think Michael B. Jordan's that good of an actor.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, which I think is what your point is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that was such a natural feeling reaction. It's look, there's a million things that are great about Sinners, but that was truly one of the highlight moments. Yeah.
That scene got a pop in the theater for me.
Absolutely did.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Joe Howland. Hey, John and crew. Hope your day is going great. My question is, when do you think we'll see the first look at Voltron, either through a trailer or first images?
I'll be honest with you.
I know.
Once Amazon said they're not releasing it theatrically, I lost about 50% of my excitement for it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm right to feel that way. I'm not saying I'm wrong to feel that way. I'm not saying it's fair or unfair. I'm just being honest. When Amazon said, we don't see this as a valuable enough thing to put it in theaters, I lost half my interest. I'm sorry, Henry. All due respect to my boy, Henry, who I was so excited about when I heard that he was cast in Voltron. Yeah, once they said it's going straight to streaming, I'm like, well, if you don't fucking care, why should I care? And now don't get me wrong. The day it comes out, I'm going to watch it. I will, because it's Henry and it's Voltron. But my excitement for it, my interest in it is still there. My excitement for it isn't anymore. So I've lost track. I don't even know when it's coming out now. I have no idea what they're targeting for a release date, and I really don't care. Now, again, I say I don't care. One of you guys drops me a note, as you often do, say, hey, Voltron trailer just dropped. I'll be going over to YouTube to watch it for sure, but I ain't counting down the days anymore. You say you're not putting it in theaters, then I'm not that interested. Anyway, what's next?
Disney Freak says, today is the 15th anniversary of Toy Story 3. It's my all-time favorite film, and I feel like I'm one of the few looking forward to the 5th installment. Did you see the concept art Pixar released this week of the new villain Lily Pad? I have it here.
First of all, Toy Story 3 is one of the greatest animated films of all time. One of only 3 animated films in Hollywood history to actually be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Of course, the first one to do that was Beauty and the Beast. The second one, you had to wait a lot of years for Up. And then the third one was Toy Story 3. It is absolutely a masterpiece. But I am with you. I really enjoyed Toy Story 4. I don't think it's as good as Toy Story 3. That's fine. Toy Story 3 is an absolute masterpiece, near perfection. But I really enjoyed Toy Story 4, and I'm very excited for another Toy Story movie. Absolutely, I'm super excited for it. Cannot wait. So I'm with you on that. You're not alone.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Clayton here. What's up, John and crew? I proposed to my girlfriend, now fiance, this past weekend.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Just wanted to let you know that you guys have been a major part of our lives these last few years. We love the show and watch every chance we get. Keep up the good work.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Listen, there's old saying that says the couple, and I believe this is true, the couple that plays together stays together. You know, I've known a lot of people in my life where their marriages break up. It happens. That's life and stuff like that. But I have found that the couples I've known in my life that play games together, they play video games together, they play board games together, I have found that for the most part, those couples stay together. But the other one I would say to this is the couples that watch movies together stay together. Again, I don't have statistical scientific data to back that up. I'm saying that most of the couples that I know that have stayed together for a long time love watching movies together. And so you're off to a good start, my friend. Off to a good start. Congratulations again to both of you, man. All right, what's next?
Real Talk says James Gunn wrote both live-action Scooby-Doo films and was set to write and direct the third before it got scrapped. You could say scrappy dude. Any chance Gunn finishes his trilogy now that he's cemented at WB?
Zero.
I think he's way too
forget
busy.
the Scooby-Doo-ness of it. He's got a studio he's running.
Way too busy.
He's got a studio he's running. He's not going to be doing anything Scooby-Doo-wise.
Maybe he can give some notes.
Yeah.
But
all right, what's next?
let me scroll up. Imperial Executioner. Hey crew, Deadline reports a new movie from Catherine Bigelow called A House in...
Finally!
is coming out in October. How great is it to finally have another project from her after the amazing
We haven't had a movie from her since Detroit, have we?
That's it, yeah.
Was that the name of the movie?
Detroit.
Yeah, it was called Detroit. That movie is great. I think that movie is every bit as good as Hurt Locker. And didn't that win Best Picture at the Academy Awards? I'm pretty sure it did. Anyway, she is a fantastic director. I think Rob and I were just talking about this a couple months ago. It's like, where the hell is the next Catherine Bigelow movie?
Yeah.
Not, unless one came out that I missed, but thank God that's finally coming. And yeah, Detroit was amazing, man. That is such a good movie. But it was one of those movies that had I'm not saying it's as good as Schindler's List, but it had a Schindler's List quality to it where it powerfully moved me, but in such a way that I don't know that I could watch it again because it's such a powerful experience in that level. And it was amazing, but I like Schindler's List. It would be a hard second watch. Anyway. All right, let's do one more.
All right. Dominic, do you think our new DCU Batman will be the elder statesman on the Justice League again, or will he be closer in age to Superman but still have a lot of experience? Maybe somewhere in the middle of that.
Remember, this Batman in the DCU, the one thing we do know about him already is he's got a kid.
I see him around the age of the Arkham Asylum Batman.
Yeah, and not a baby. He doesn't have a baby kid. He's going to have his kid, Damian, which is, I'm probably guessing at minimum they're going to make him 14. I don't think they're going to go for the really young.
Yeah.
Hello, mother. Like, I don't think they're going to do that, but maybe 14, whatever. And so, yeah, I think you're going to have an elder statesman, like not in his 50s, but like maybe somewhere around the Ben Affleck age when Ben Affleck started.
First started.
Like maybe early 40s,
Early
mid 40s,
45, yeah.
something like that. That's my guess, but you know, never know. We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again for tomorrow's episode of the show. We already got a few things lined up. We're looking forward to having you guys back. Make sure you guys, we say this at the end of some of the videos, but we don't often, and I suppose I should. Hey guys, leave a comment down below. Even just an emoji or something like that. Click the thumbs up button on this video. These little things just kind of feed the YouTube algorithm gods, and it helps us out a great deal, even though it doesn't take you much to do it. I want to thank, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett, who's on his way home. Of course, Jonathan Voico for directing today's episode.
See you guys. Leave a plug emoji.
And I got to get Ray on making. Now we got to get Ray to make a. You know, our channel members have exclusive emojis.
Yeah.
Now he's got to make a plug emoji.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, big thanks to all of you for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.